Good afternoon, everyone. Let me thank Mayor Zimmer for her leadership and bringing a universe of people together for their vision. This was a process to have to convince HUD that this was among the projects that should be funded. And I was pleased not only to provide a letter, but to advocate with the Secretary, who often comes before my committee as the subcommittee housing chair, to say, look, this is the type of project that should be funded, because it has an opportunity not only to dramatically deal with some of the flooding challenges of the Hoboken-Weehawken community, but also because it can be replicated, I think, across the country. And if we are looking for programs that can be national models, this is one of them. So I want to salute the mayor for putting together a project. She's very vigorous in her visits to D.C. On behalf of this, and it made a difference. Appreciate Mayor Turner's participation as well. When we think about these things not as individual communities, but when we have the realities as we have here in the Weehawken Cove and in communities that are just across the street from each other and change communities, we have to think in a more regional context, and I appreciate his participation and engagement as well. It's hard to believe, but when Sandy struck nearly 20 months ago, this spot where we're standing was fully underwater. I remember being with the freeholder at many parts here as we were visiting, and I appreciate him and the county's leadership as well. The record storm surge sent the Hudson River cascading over its banks, flooding much of the city and causing millions of dollars in damage. The path and New Jersey transit terminals were largely destroyed. Roads flowed like rivers with rapids and rip currents. Basement apartments were inundated, and the city was left in the dark and powerless to Mother Nature's fury. But when the floodwaters receded and the lights came back on, the mile-square city that I once called home refused to be defeated. And led by Mayor Zimmer, this incredible community rose up and developed a bold and ambitious plan to guard itself against future disasters like Sandy. When I first reviewed Hoboken's Rebuild by Design plan, I was very impressed. It's innovative, it's comprehensive, it should serve as a national model for urban flood mitigation and resiliency. And for a city like Hoboken, such a citywide, holistic approach to flood control is the only solution that can get the job done. That's because unlike suburban or rural areas that can elevate individual properties out of harm's way, many of Hoboken's homes are in apartment buildings or connected brownstones, which simply cannot be elevated out of harm's way. Cities like Hoboken can't just lift an apartment building or a brownstone, and so it takes a holistic, community-wide approach. And that's exactly what Hoboken's Rebuild by Design project does. That's why I supported it, fought for the federal funding that ultimately is able to bring us $230 million to this particular plan, and I'm thrilled that that funding is now being made a reality to the city of Hoboken. Just this week, as the mayor referenced, to further Hoboken's resiliency efforts, the Department of the Interior, out of Sandy-related monies that are being distributed by the Department of the Interior, awarded the city a $250,000 grant towards transforming a flood-prone parking lot in the southwest corner of the city into a park and water-absorbing open space. As I have said all along, New Jersey's recovery should not be judged solely on rebuilding what Sandy destroyed, but rather what we do to prevent damage from the next Sandy. We have to look, think, and plan towards the storms of the future, which unfortunately scientists predict will only be more prevalent and more powerful due to climate change. It's about making New Jersey better and stronger than before the storm. Rebuild by Design projects like this one in Hoboken and the one in the Meadowlands, which has received $150 million from HUD, do just that. Now, a couple of weeks ago, when HUD announced its third and final tranche of Sandy funding, you probably noticed that I wasn't there, and I stayed pretty quiet, which for me should say a lot. That's simply because I was not satisfied. In fact, I won't be satisfied as long as our state has unmet needs. And so I continue to fight and push on the administration, and I'm happy to say that HUD and the Obama administration this week assured me that more Sandy money would be flowing New Jersey's way. I'm happy to report that HUD decided to dedicate an additional $180 million of that funding strictly for the Sandy region, including here in New Jersey. This funding provides yet more resources to protect other vulnerable flood-prone communities along the Jersey Shore, the Passaic River Basin, and near every other body of water that poses a threat to people and property in their wake. Now, I'm also of the belief that the National Resiliency Competition, which originally was assessed to be at $2 billion, which I opposed, got reduced in half, and that money is coming to the region. But also, we were originally told we wouldn't be eligible for the National Resiliency Competition. And as a result of my efforts, we are now eligible for the National Resiliency Competition. And I think we are well poised to win elements of that competition, because we've already have plans that have already been approved, like Hoboken's, but there are multiple levels of that development. And so I think we're in a good position to yet receive greater funding. This is New Jersey, the home of Thomas Edison and Einstein, of a proud and determined people with unparalleled intellect, grit, and perseverance. In Hoboken, Weehawken, and Jersey City are just great examples of that spirit. Their rebuild by design plan is bold and innovative. Their tenacity in fighting for funding to protect their citizens is inspiring. And I look forward to continuing to fight for every resource possible to continue our efforts to rebuild New Jersey stronger than before the storm.